I've created a proven, easy 3-step process that I use myself in my editing process for all of my clients. And it has been absolutely amazing. And I'm here to share it with you today. So let's get started. All right. So what are the pros of editing your book yourself? Well, I mean, pretty simple here. You know, it's your work and nobody else has put the time in that you have. This is your work. You love it. You know it inside and out. It's going to be pretty easy for you to do. You can go at your own pace and you can be done with it rather quickly. And this means that, you know, if you have time to edit it, you know, at 2 a.m. and you feel like doing that, you know, you can go through and be doing this process, you know, before work in the morning or in the middle of the afternoon if you get a chance, or whenever it is that you have time to do it, and you can get it done faster. Because if you think about it, I mean, you know, it's going to take an editor a certain amount of hours to work on your book. So you're either sitting around waiting for them to do it, or you can be doing it yourself. So going at your own pace can be a benefit, major benefit, and you can get it done a lot faster. And as long as you follow these 3 easy steps fully, you should be completely mistake-free by the time you're finished with your editing process. All right, now the cons. The cons are also, it's your work, and you can end up getting lost in perfectionism. I mean, we all know this, right? You know, oh, I got to change this. Oh, I come up with this great idea. And, you know, oh, I want to add this. Oh, wait, this character can do this. Oh, maybe if he said this better, it would sound better. Okay, so that kind of thing can make it take a lot longer. You don't want to go through, once you've gone through your first draft and you've written your first draft of your book, the last thing you want to do is go and change everything. You do not want to change things. Once you've got your storyline down, just go through it and keep it the same. Pretend that it's done. Like you can't keep going through and changing things over and over and over again. You know, it ends up being a long drawn out process. And that's why, you know, a lot of authors, it's like, you know, oh, how long did it take you to publish your book? Oh, years. Well, that's partly why. It doesn't need to take that long. You do not need to get lost in perfectionism. Yeah, and also, the second con, you can go at your own pace, which is, you know, one of the pros as well. So with going at your own pace, you can also end up procrastinating. And that's also something you do not want to get lost in. Oh, well, I can do it tomorrow. Oh, I can do some of it next week. You know, you can't do that either. If you're going to work on it, you're going to do it. You have to keep doing it every day. You know, even if you can only get a little bit done every day, you have to keep doing it every single day. So if this is something that, you know, you're not going to follow through with, it probably would be better if you hired somebody else to do it for you. So, and with that being said, lastly, if you don't follow through with the 3 steps that I give you, you will end up with mistakes. If you don't follow through completely on each and every one from beginning to end of your draft, then you will end up with mistakes. And, you know, you won't have anybody to blame but yourself. So those are the pros and those are the cons. And let's move on now. All right. So some things to keep in mind whenever you have your first draft ready is you do not have to hire a professional to edit your book. If you take the time to properly do it, you can do it yourself, and you can do it easily, you can do it quickly, but you have to follow through and you have to commit to actually doing it. The 3 easy proven steps that I've used with clients over the past 10 years to save yourself time, money, and headaches. And if you do this the right way, you will have a lot of fun doing it, I promise. And this will also build your confidence, and it gets easier and easier. So if you have a little bit of trouble maybe with the first one, And then whenever you write your next book, guess what? It's going to be a ton easier because you're already going to know 3 easy ways to go through. And with everything, practice makes perfect. I tell my kids this all the time. It's amazing how even with things like artwork, you don't think of artwork as being something that you do, like tying your shoe, but it is. Even artwork, because it's a creative process. It's the same as writing. Writing, the more you write, the better you get at it. The more you speak, the better you get at it. The more you walk, whenever you're little, the better you get. It's the same with artwork. It's the same with absolutely anything you do. Practice makes perfect. So let's get going. Here we go. The 3 easy steps. Now these are unbelievably simple. They look simple, and they are. The first thing you do is you run your draft through grammar and spell check, either through Word or through Grammarly or through OpenOffice, Pages, whatever word processor you use. All right, and step number 2 is you're going to have to print out a copy and sit down and read your story to yourself, just like you would be reading a book, and just sit there with a highlighter, get your fancy little highlighter. Now you're a professional author and you're sitting there with your manuscript and you have it, a big stack of pages in front of you, and you go through it with your highlighter, and you're a professional author, and there you go. And this is how we do. Congratulations, you're an author now. You have a great big stack of pages in front of you and a highlighter, and you're going to go through and you're just going to read it and just mark anything quickly. All right, and the third step is to read it out loud to yourself or with a friend. This is also super important, and we'll get into more of this later. All right, so running your draft through grammar and spell check. Now, you're going to run it through only one time from beginning to end. Whenever you're doing this, you do not actually read the story. You don't read. You just let the processor, word processor, pick up whatever mistakes it sees. Now, you go through each and every single one, and you do not accept changes or have it change every single thing just because it picked it up. You just go through and you have to choose, one at a time, read every mistake. You do not go through and edit your storyline. That is also not allowed. Your storyline is done. As I said in the beginning, you're done with your storyline. You're not editing it. You're not changing it. You're not adding characters. You're not adding 45 chapters. You're not taking away 16 chapters. We're not doing that. You do not edit your storyline. You are simply looking for grammar and punctuation and spelling mistakes while running it through your grammar and spell check in your word processor. That's it. And then in this, you can count on mistakes being missed. I mean, endless mistakes. Now, I have read a lot of books. I've read hundreds and hundreds of books, published books by, famous publishing companies, the biggest publishing houses, and found mistakes. One of my favorite examples is by, it's in a very popular young adult series that is published by HarperCollins. And one of their big glaring mistakes in the book was that somebody had a wooden stove. Now, I don't know about you, but I would not want to have a fire inside a wooden stove. So that was an obvious mistake that was completely missed. And in another book that was published by another huge publishing company, there's this character that just randomly shows up in the middle of the story named Chalmers. Who is this guy? We have no idea who Chalmers is. Now, there was a character running through the story. I believe his name was Chandler. And I'm thinking that maybe that was his name got changed somewhere in the editing process. And there was one where it was completely missed. So these things happen whenever you don't actually sit down and read afterwards. So this is why we don't just depend on your grammar and your spell check. We use it, we definitely use it, and we run through and correct the mistakes that it does pick up automatically, but you don't accept every single one of them, and you have to make sure that you do not depend on it. It is not dependable ever. All right, so let's go with the next one. Number 2. Now, here you're going to want to print out your book, your entire manuscript, print it out and sit down with it and a highlighter. And you definitely want to use a highlighter, because a highlighter, you can just kind of make a mark on something. You just highlight a mistake. You do not have to worry about your proper editing marks. If you want to make smiley faces and squiggly lines and just lines over top of stuff, whatever, don't worry about making any proper editing marks. It's absolutely not necessary. If you want to have maybe a pen where you can like add something in, words that need added or something like that, that's fine too. But you do not want to go through and worry about learning proper editing marks or anything like that it's not necessary. And again, we are not editing the storyline. You're not changing anything. You're not changing all the characters. We're not changing anything. Okay. You can fix obvious plot holes, if you're going along and, there's something that's completely, out of line with the storyline, where the guy was wearing a red shirt in chapter, earlier in the chapter, and now all of a sudden he's wearing a blue shirt. I mean, those are things that you're going to want to change, but don't change anything major with the storyline, because this will just lead to procrastination, and you don't want to waste time on this. And if you come up with a brilliant idea where this character absolutely must save the princess from a dragon in the 3rd chapter, and it creates this whole other, subplot that, no, don't do that. Save all of your absolutely amazing ideas. Go sit down and, write them down somewhere else. Keep a notebook beside you if you need to. If you have a tendency to do this, keep a notebook beside you and jot down any amazing ideas that you do come up with and save them for another book. Save them for, the next book in your series or something like that, or a prequel or something. Don't go changing your book. You've already written it. It's done. All we're doing is editing it. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Number 3. Now, this part can be really a lot of fun. I mean, absolutely fun. You sit down and you just walk around. I like to walk when I read. Sometimes when I'm reading out loud, I like to stand up. Okay. So that's why I said that. So you read it out loud like you're reading it to somebody else. If you have neighbors that are going to think you're crazy, well, just let them think you're crazy. If people are going to hear you, whatever, don't worry about it. Just read your book out loud. Read it from beginning to end as if you're reading the story to somebody. Or you can also do this with a close friend. And I say a close friend, somebody who is not going to get you completely distracted. This has got to be somebody who absolutely wants to listen to your story and who has an investment, in you, to where they're not going to distract you and, oh, well, let's, go do something else while we're in the middle of doing this. No, we can't have distractions. It has to be somebody who's going to keep you free of distractions. And so this part here, you want to make sure you do not get sidetracked. I mean, you can have as much fun with this as you want, but don't get sidetracked. You got to keep reading through the whole book. And of course, keep your highlighter with you, make some notes, or whatever it is that you have to do. And that's pretty much it. This is absolutely, it's so easy. One of the important things about reading your story out loud is that, for example, I'm doing these videos. I have all these notes in front of me. I write stuff down. And whenever you're thinking, okay, you're thinking about something, you process, the sentences in your thoughts, you create sentences in your mind. And then you go and you write them down on a piece of paper. And then for some reason, somewhere along the way, whenever they come out of your mouth, you sound like an idiot. And you're like, oh my goodness, why did I say that? It sounded so good in my head. Or whenever you're, even just standing and having a conversation with somebody and you're like, I have this amazing thought that I want to share, this brilliant epiphany that I just came up with. And you open your mouth and it just comes out sounding really stupid. And this is like super important. That's why it's really, really important to read your book out loud. Because whenever you take stuff from your mind and put it on paper, somewhere there's communication that gets missed. So reading it out loud is super important. You just got to make sure that you don't get sidetracked. I mean, you can have, spend the night with a friend and, have pizza, have, whatever, and sit around and read your book, but just make sure that you don't get sidetracked. And that's it. Those are our 3 easy steps, and you're done. And you've now edited your manuscript. So editing can actually be really super easy and super fun. Make it fun. Enjoy doing it. This is your baby. Love it. Okay, so here is a perfect thing here. A lot of people don't want to edit their book because they're like, oh, it's so, it's such a horrible thing. I have to actually it's like they'll spend all the time writing their book and loving it and creating and coming up with the ideas. And then whenever it comes time to edit it, it's like nobody wants to edit their book. They're like, oh, I don't want to do it. But editing your book is just like, having to take your, having to change your baby's diaper or take your puppy out to go to the bathroom or whatever. Your book is just like your baby or your puppy. Writing is the cuddling, the loving part, the creation, the joy. And well, editing is cleaning it up. I mean, that's really what it is. It's part of the cleaning it up, and then, it's part of raising it. So it's got to be done. And you are really the best person to do it. And I hope that this has been a lot of help for you. Okay, so the next step is video 2. An easy way to find free beta readers and get the feedback that you need. You want to make sure that you go through each of these videos step by step. There's 5 videos before you actually publish your book. So this is the first video. So the next video is video 2. And then there will be all the way up until 5 before you actually do the publishing of your book, if you want to make your book be the best that it can possibly be. Thank you for taking the time to go through video 1 of publishing and marketing books that sell. I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. And please feel free to send me any of your questions or comments that you may have. I'm more than happy to help you. If you have any questions, if there's anything that I missed in this video, that you have a question about whenever it comes to editing, feel free to send it to me. My website is galadrielgrace.com. Thanks, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.